All right, so introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jade, and I guess this is my story. Well, my mom raised me. I grew up with my mom, but things like that happened, so I had to be placed with my dad. And if you guys don't know the story, you will now.
All right, so wait, so you grew up with your mom. How old till you moved?
To the age of 9, I was with my mom.
So from 9, so from 1 to 9 you was with your mom, and from 9 to
about 13
with your dad.
Yeah.
So what was the reason why you moved with your dad?
We had some family issues.
Family issues.
So I had to be placed in my dad's custody temporarily until
in jail.
Yeah, my mom had to go do.
Oh, so your
mom.
Your
yeah,
mom.
She had to go do
So
time,
situation.
Yeah, it was some family things. So.
Okay.
It was his first day out of prison.
Anyway,
They
yes.
gave it to her.
So after my mom had to go do her bid, it placed me with the next of kin, which was my father.
Did you know him?
I had known of him. I've seen him a couple of times, but like having a relationship is known as like knowing his name, whole name, or like date of birth or something.
How did you feel moving with your dad knowing that, but you don't really know him like that?
I was really nervous. I know I had sisters and brothers also. I had just had a little brother that passed away, and then I had sisters and brothers that I didn't know. So getting with him, I thought that, hey, I'm going to get a relationship with my sisters and brothers. Turns out to be he really didn't, watch them or like keep them or really have a relationship with them either. So it was kind of just like always meeting him. I thought it was going to be a sibling or family type thing. It wasn't. It was just me and him. My mother siblings stayed with their mother.
All right. So when you moved in with him, so what was it like?
So when they placed me in his custody, we had to move in with my grandma, which was his mom. Right. He didn't have his own place. So I stayed there with my grandma and my 2 aunts, their 2 kids. And for some reason, I never understood why they worked the way they worked with him. They were standoffish. They didn't really kind of communicate with him, and they wanted him to sleep outside under the garage carport at the time. And I didn't quite understand why. It makes a lot of sense now. They had like a hatred towards him. But I thought it was like civil rivalry. Siblings don't like each other, so I always thought it what it was. So they used to take it out on me. When he wasn't there, they would beat and they would like starve me. Like they would feed their kids, and then I would sit at the end of the table, and hopefully the kids would pass me something while they're not looking. Or my grandma would have to get off work once she found out what was happening, and she would lock me in her room and feed me. And then like when they come knock on the door, she'll snatch the plate back like she's eating it and open up, so it wasn't like, confrontation or issues with them. And one day, like I guess throughout the summertime it happened, with the beating and the starving, I had started to lose a lot of weight. And DCF was coming out, doing surprise visits at the time. And I guess they didn't know, and they had beat me really bad one day. They left bruises and stuff like that. And then like I was so small from not eating, my collarbone started to like shrink in, and the lady noticed it. So when DCF came, it was just like, okay, this child is not eating, and this child has been beaten. Like I was just freshly eating, and so the scars were still there. They were like, okay. So they removed me from my grandma's household and placed me solely with my dad. So now we were renting rooms, just me and him in the same room. Same bed, same space.
All right, so when you moved with your dad, what was it like?
He worked. So he would have, occasional relationships with women who had kids. So I would sometimes have, little step siblings at the time to be around. When it was just me and him, it was all of this happened very unexpectedly. I didn't get no red flags that it was like this. It really just one night, I never forget it. It was raining outside, and we were sharing a room in my cousin's house. And I usually would sleep like on the bed, and he would sleep on the floor.
Right.
This particular night, I don't know. He started wrestling and like play fighting with me, and then I noticed that it became a little more like of a dry humping situation. And I guess like after he finished, when he got up, I noticed that his specimen was on my thigh and my pants.
And how old was you at that time?
I would say I was about 10 and a half. 10 and a half. And afterwards, I knew that something was just not right about the situation, and because of the way he reacted, like when he was done with the dry humping, and I noticed what was on my leg, and he noticed what was on my leg. It was just like a very weird, awkward situation. But he apologized, and it never happened again. I don't know what happened. And I was like on the fence, but I was still young. I was like, okay, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen for a couple of months.
Okay, so
I thought I was safe.
Right. And then what happened after day?
So when he would get girlfriends, I would be in the safe zone, is what I would call it. But when he was single, I was the target. Of course, he wouldn't, need a need for me when he had his girlfriends.
What do you mean need for you?
So the dry humping, it did occur again. It was solely that at first. It was dry humping, and then it graduated to like touching, and then it graduated to him, starting to expose himself in front of me and things like that. But then when he would get a girlfriend, all of that was just, it would stop. Like I would be okay. He wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't, he wouldn't do anything. When him and his girlfriend going through it, or he would be single, that's when he would start to, come back to me for whatever the case may be.
Right. But what was going through your mind? No, that's your dad. That's not supposed to happen.
I knew it wasn't normal. But at the same time, it was like I was getting threatened of, you can't be with your mom right now, and if you was to, tell anybody, you're gonna go to foster care where they beat and kill kids. Because it was at the time it was a case of a couple of foster homes, kids was coming up missing, kids was being killed, and things like that. So he was scared of me. He would be like, if you don't tell, you'll be, next like one of those kids. So at that point, I just felt like I was kind of trapped in the situation, and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to die, and I was just like, I didn't expect it to graduate to full-on molestation. I did not expect it. I just really thought that it could just be a little touchy here and there. But when it completely graduated. He completely decided that rubbing his genitals against my genitals wasn't enough anymore. So I guess he decided to take my virginity one night.
So your dad took your virginity one night?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
And how did you feel? I know you was on 11 by the time? Or still
11.
You was 11?
11. Like I said, after that had happened, I just knew that it wasn't going to get no better from there. Because he was like a shark. Once he tasted blood, it was way a lot more frequent than it should have been. But then we moved in with one of his women who had 2 kids. And I'm thinking, okay, here's my break again. He has a girl. We're living with them now. He can't do anything. It's not just me and him alone anymore. That is not the case. No, he got even bolder. He would wait till my stepmom at the time. He would wait till she go to work overnight. And while everybody was asleep, he would come and stand at my room door, who I shared a room with my stepsister at the time. He would stand there and he would whisper. Or he would be trying to wake me up. Or if I would pretend to be too hard of a sleep, he would literally come pick me up out of the bed to take me into their bedroom at the time. He had a weird belief, because I guess my mom was into females, he felt like he didn't want me to be into females. So he felt like if he placed that dominance of a man in my life, that I would be with men. So one day, me and my stepsister, we were in the neighborhood hanging out with her boyfriend. We didn't know that her boyfriend mom, my dad was cheating with.
Oh, wow.
So when he found us hanging out with the lady's son that he was cheating with, he knew he was caught.
Oh, wow.
And that was our place to stay at the time. So he got really angry and he started beating on me, and all the boys was like, sir, we're not here for her. We're really here for your our sister, your stepdaughter, because she was wild at the time. So like she had their attention, but just me, I have to sit there because what else am I going to do?
Right.
So he had the wrong idea and thought that I was giving my attention to another male, basically.
So he was jealous of you?
Jealous. So he beat me all the way through the parking lot. He beat, he stumped, he kicked, he beat, he did a lot of things. So me screaming, I ran to the house, which at the time my stepmother was home. She was sleeping because she had to work overnight. So as he was beating and stomping and kicking, I was screaming and it woke her up. And she was like, hey, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And my stepsister at the time was just like, hey, Mom, he's been cheating. He done got caught. And now he's just beating on Jaden for no reason. We don't know what's going on and he won't stop. By that time, she had got him off me. My rib cage was messed up. My nose was bleeding. I had blood coming out my ears. And she was like, what am I supposed to do? I can't take her to the hospital because she was still trying. She loved him. She was trying to protect him.
Right, yeah,
even after he was cheating. But so after that incident happened, a couple of weeks went by. Well, not even a couple of weeks, not even a week, because that was over the weekend. The week I had went to school, I passed out of school, and I had to go to the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, that's when they notified DCF, they notified the police that it was a lot of things that was going on with me. And they came into the room and they were like, hey, are you sexually active? And I'm like, at that time, I'm like, I'm just now learning what sexually active was. And at the same time, I'm looking like, no, I know I'm supposed to say, say no, but in my head, I'm like, I can't take it anymore.
How old you was at that time?
I was about in the 8th grade.
You was in the 8th grade?
I was in the 8th grade at this time.
Okay. Did the stepmom know anywhere that he was doing that to you? Did you mention it to her?
No, nobody knew.
Oh, so you just kept it to yourself?
Yeah, I was really terrified. I was terrified of being placed in a different home and dying, but at this point, I was at the point to where I was like, something has to be better than this.
Right.
So I told the hospitals and everything, and I told them what was going on, and they informed my stepmom. And when she was taking me home, she was giving me like the 1,000th degree. She was questioning me. She was like, "How is this possible? I haven't seen this. I don't believe all of this." And they had asked for a sample of my underwear for DNA. They asked for all that stuff, so we had to bring it back to Broward Police Department. And of course, they ran the DNA sample and things like that. And at this time, he had went on a run. He knew he could not return home because there were sitting unmarked cars outside of our apartment waiting for him to come home to grab him. So he wouldn't come home for weeks at a time, and the police department sat down and was like, "Hey, we have to get him. We need to call him and let him know what's going on." At that time, I had just found out that I was pregnant.
You was pregnant for who?
My father.
So he had got you pregnant?
Yes, he did. Yes. So I had just found out.
And how old you was at that time?
8th grade.
So you was in the 8th grade.
Just summer of my 8th grade, going into my 9th grade.
So you finally was pregnant.
Yeah.
So what was going on in your mind?
I can't even explain that I knew that this was not going to be good when all of this came out. But at the same time, I didn't know what to expect. So the detective at the time called, had him on this is how he got convicted. She had him on a recording where he confessed to the crime. So she had me call him and let him know, hey, I'm pregnant. I don't know what else to do. I'm 13 and I'm scared. And when I told him this, because he had not been home, he had been on the run, he had hiding, he had not known. He just went into, oh God, I'm sorry. I knew this was not a good idea. I really messed up. I got to take you to fix what I did. And him confessing on tape is
kind of evidence that he actually did it.
Yeah, exactly. So how they got him was he was I was getting a check every month at the time to support me in my household. And he called and asked my stepmom, hey, you know, I ain't been home. I don't have this. I don't have that. Hey, could you bring me the money and you keep some because you're taking care of Jade? So she agreed. She was like, hey, yeah, I'll meet you at this such and such bank.
To get the money.
And yep, and then you can come get the money, and you know I'll take the rest and take care of Jade, but you take the rest because you're sleeping in the car, or, you know, wherever you are.
Right, at the time he's on the run.
Yeah, at the time he was on the run. But at that time the detective had called and said, hey, we have his DNA. Hey, she is actually indeed pregnant, and this is no longer a he say thing. This is a definite. Exactly. So I believe that broke her as a mother. Because she went to, what about my child? Did he ever do this to my child? Was it just you?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I believe it was just me. Because my stepsister never mentioned, you know, anything.
How old were your sisters at the time?
My sister's older than me. I was like in the 9th grade. I was in the 8th grade. She was already in the 10th.
Oh, so there was a lot older than
you. She was older than me. So you know, the lady, you know, my stepmom, she was like, okay, this is you. He did this to you. I'm going to go ahead and ask what the detective was asking her to do, which was to call him up. Put in a meet up spot, and we'll collect him from there. So they met at the bank. She walked up to him. It was pretended to hand him an envelope, which was empty. He thought it was money. And they swarmed the entire parking lot. They swarmed the entire bank, and arrested him and took him down.
All right. So all that stuff was happening. Were you able to still be able to contact with your mother when she was locked up?
So at that time, my mom was questioning me. My mom was dead on. I don't know. Maybe it was another intuition, but my mom knew something was wrong. My mom was asking me because he would let me go with my mom a little bit, but it was like, go with your mom so she can buy your school clothes. Go with your mom so, you know, she can do basically what he's getting money for, but he's not doing.
Right.
So he would basically say, go use your mom, go do this, go do that. So my mom was noticing behavior changes. She was noticing, like, she would wash my clothes, the difference in between a woman and in my underwear. And she would ask me, Jade, something's going on with you. But the detective told me at the time, hey, you can't tell anybody. It's going to interrupt our investigation, especially a mother.
Yeah, she's definitely go crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just like, you have to keep this under wrap until we get him into custody and things as such. So after he was arrested and my mom found out, my mom just, like, she just held me and she looked and she was just like, I knew it was something wrong with my baby. Like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, Mom, I couldn't. Like, I needed him to be away. Like, if I would have told my mom, I'm pretty sure she would have
called everybody.
Yeah, and then he would have really just probably left the state, left somewhere. And I'm like, Mom, I need. At this point, I was tired. I was just tired.
So when all was all happening, so you didn't tell nobody at all until it was over with?
Yeah, I did. I did what they asked me to do. I was quiet until the case came to light, basically. So one day in the 9th grade, like I said before, I was pregnant. I started to have like a menstrual type thing going on, and so I went to my nurse's office, and I was like, "Hey, I just started my cycle. Can I grab some things for feminine things?" And she was like, "Okay, have a seat." So I'm sitting in the nurse's office in the chair, and there's a couple other kids in there with me, and I guess she noticed that, like, from under the seat, that it was like, I don't know how, like, the blood, yes, it was like blood pouring from under the seat. So she cleared the whole her office and was like, "Sweetheart," she's like, "this is way too much." She's like, "this is not a menstrual." She was like, "Were you pregnant?" And I was just like, yes, ma'am. And I explained to her what was going on, the reason why the school didn't know, we didn't tell them anything like that. And she had informed me. She was like, "Well, sweetheart, you're having a miscarriage." And I miscarried right there in the nurse's office in front of, I guess, like maybe 7, 8 other children. It was the most saddest. I don't know. I was more embarrassed. I had no idea. Like,
yeah, but you was young, so you took advantage. You can't really blame yourself. Because you know what I'm saying, your mind didn't fully grow up yet, so it's like you take advantage of the opportunity to. So how far you was pregnant? Did you know?
Yeah, I was about 5 months.
You was 5 months pregnant.
Yeah, because like I told you, I had got the beating over the summer going into the ninth grade. And then not long after the ninth grade started, I ended up having a miscarriage. And the doctors explained that you and your dad have too many of the same chromosomes. The baby either would have came out with a birth defect, wouldn't have made it to full term, or, just wouldn't have been fully healthy as a normal child would,
right,
because it was father and child reproduction. So I went through that very dark space in my life, very dark space. But he was in custody at the time. He was locked away. So the trial started my 10th grade year. I had left out of the county of Broward County, and I came to Palm Beach County, and I started school. And it was time for the trial. And I just didn't want to see him in court. I didn't want to be there. So at the time, I was in my grandma's custody, my mom's mother. She got me because I just couldn't be that side of the family anymore. So she grabbed me, and I told her, honestly, I was like, I don't want to go through the court. I don't want to see him. I don't want to face him. I cried and I begged, and she spoke to my lawyer, and I got opted out, so I didn't have to attend. Yeah, I didn't have to attend the trial. I just knew the day the verdict came in, and the jury didn't even deliberate 15 minutes. Yeah. After they played the tape of his confession, after they showed the DNA in the underwear, that was just so. They gave him 5 years. Well, it was 3 counts because he did it for 3 years consecutively, and they gave him 5 years for each count. So he ended up getting 15 years, and he ended up getting out April of 2023.
Yeah, have he reached out to you while he was in the trial, talk to you?
No. Since the 15 years, I haven't spoke to my grandmother on that side. My sisters and brothers, they all shut me out. I guess because I was supposed to keep it in the family as like a secret. Yeah, but I exposed it, and so everybody, stopped talking to me.
So people are blaming you for him going to jail.
They basically blamed me, and for 15, 16 years till this day, they don't talk to me. My grandmother and his sister, the one that used to beat and starve me, reached out to me earlier this year, out of 15 years. I don't know why. Acting like nothing had ever happened.
Wow.
Like everything was okay. And I'm at the age now where I'm like, hey, I can speak up.
Growing up, like right now, did that change or traumatize you from anything?
Yes, it did. I had already liked it, women when I was younger. Like I had an infatuation with women, but I'm strictly for women at this point in my life.
So you never did a guy before?
No. Not from beside him with him, no. And I do suffer from mental health issues. I do take medication now for it. I've been on medication since 2015, which was my last year being with them. Actually, no, I started to talk about it more in 2015, and that's when I got into therapy. Because I had to do therapy as a kid also.
Right. So.
Yeah, that was part of what the lawyer asked for me, was to go see a therapist and, get help. It helped for a while, but I still just felt like the repeat of telling the story over and over again. I got tired. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I felt like I was reliving it over and over again. So the therapy stopped as a kid. And I kind of regret that, because as I'm older now, going to therapy and speaking about this and holding it in for even longer than I should have. I have to take medication now.
Is it a condition you have to take? Well, what's the reason you take a medication?
So they gave me, I have severe depression and anxiety. I have PTSD, bipolar personality disorder, and mild schizophrenia. Yeah, it developed in
due time.
In due time, but while the situation was happening, the PTSD, and just the trauma just added on, and it just made it no.
So how are you coping with it now? Now you're like older.
I can honestly say medication management. It's a work in progress. They're still changing around medications. They're still trying to make sure. I've had a lot of suicidal attempts.
So that's how long was this? Was it before or doing that?
This is during when it was happening. Especially when I found out that I was having a miscarriage, I tried a suicidal attempt. The reason why I said I finally didn't care about if I went foster care and they did kill me or not, because I was just at the point I was tired, and I had tried to commit suicide and I had failed. So I was just like, you know what? If I tell somebody and they take me and something does happen to me, it's something, you know, that I wanted. But I had some suicidal attempts even as an adult. I've had to spend time in psychiatric hospitals and homes. I've had to, for short periods of time and things and such. The healing sensation. I'm finding peace and happiness, like still trying to pick my life up piece by piece. I am unable to have children due to the situation.
What's the reason you can't have
he tore my cervix as a child, and it wasn't it wasn't stitched up, it wasn't re-hit, like it didn't heal correctly because I didn't get the medical help when he was beating me. I didn't get the medical help. She was too scared to take me to the hospital. When I had the miscarriage, they didn't take me to the hospital. It was something I had to deal with at home. And I have tried to have children with my partners that I am with, but I have not been successful.
What do you mean, like, I thought you with your girlfriend, with your fiance?
Yeah, well, my fiance, we were going to do like IVF, where we're going to do an in-home insemination, but due to those complications from the miscarriage and the damage that was done as a child, I'm just not able to complete the 9 months or a full cycle to bring a baby to full term.
How did you feel knowing that they told you went through all that?
The partner I was with, we ended up, not being together because she felt like that was a lot of money to waste. I didn't feel that way. I felt like I had hope.
Right.
I love children.
Right.
I'm a preschool teacher. I've even started nursing school because I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. The only time I was able to have a kid was at that time, and I just hate how, I wasn't able to successfully have a child. But I think back on it now, I don't think me raising my father's child would have been the best plan for me in my life.
You did plan on keeping the baby?
At 13, I didn't know anything about getting rid of.
Because you didn't know about that, so you're still learning.
Terminating the pregnancy. I didn't know until he told me over the phone that I would have to go get an abortion to terminate the pregnancy. And I'm like, obviously he had no intentions, of definitely, keeping the child. And I was too busy focused on the case and what was at hand to where I didn't realize that I was missing my period until the case came to court. And I'm like, my stepmom asked me, she was like, hey, like, I haven't bought no pads in a while. What have you been using? And it hit me, and I'm like, I haven't had a period. And from there, it's like my life just...
So you found out you're pregnant in the courthouse?
No, so I had to take a pregnancy test in the courthouse.
To prove that she was pregnant?
Yeah. My lawyer at the time was like, this would definitely help your case if you really are pregnant. And he, because I already had told him on the tape that, hey, I'm pregnant. And he was like, we have to handle this situation. So in order for me, to just say that on tape, it had to be proved. I just couldn't. It would have been falsifying information.
Right.
So once the lady brought me a text and she was like, they'll send it in the office. She was just like, just go pee on this and then bring it back. And when it came back positive is when they set the phone call up. It was like, okay, he has to deal with his.
So what was going through your mouth after you found you was pregnant?
I just felt like my mom was going to be so angry with me. Mm-hmm. I really did, because being at that age and coming home pregnant, I didn't believe that she would think that, tell them, and I'm like, yeah, hey, I'm pregnant, but it's by my dad. Like, I thought she would be like, no, you've been out there being a fast-tailed little girl. That's what it is. But when all the evidence came together and it came to light, I kind of felt more relieved that I didn't carry the full term.
Right, because you probably have like a disabled baby. It would have been just.
Yeah, and then something I would have to. Of course, I still think about it, but having a child is seeming proof right there. Something I have to look at all day, every day.
Yeah, it's like a trauma around plenty of. Yeah, it would have been a lot more. So what's your goal now?
I'm still literally taking it day by day. I've had other issues go on in my life, so I'm taking it day by day. My sisters and my brothers, grandmas, and aunts, I don't keep contact with them. I don't speak to them. It kind of bothers me because I I felt like my grandma knew, because she wouldn't let him sleep in the house with girls. He would have to sleep outside under the carport. And I never understood why.
So you would never go to sleep in the house. Well, you got to sleep in the house.
Yeah, my grandma would let me sleep in the house, and he would have to sleep outside under the garage.
In the garage. Was there any other female girls in the house besides you?
Yeah, my two aunties, my niece, and my little.
So it wasn't the first time you did, because they tried to up under the rug, but.
I believe that's what it was, because when my grandma found out what was happening and went to court with my mother's mother, which is my other grandma that I was in custody with, she looked at my grandma in the courtroom and was crying. And she was like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, And when DCF took me and placed me solely with just me and him, the look in her face when she tried to plead with the DCF workers, just let her stay here. My daughter's a move, out of the household, and I keep her safe. I never got why she fought for me to stay so hard. But I felt like she always knew that her son, it was something, because he had a nickname in the neighborhood. They used to call him Purpose.
Yeah, so
like a pervert.
She probably was aware of it, but she couldn't protect you. But
she tried.
She tried. You know what I'm saying? You can't give her credit for not trying, but pretty sure she's aware, because he can't sleep in the house. He's sleeping in the garage.
Yeah, I didn't understand why. She would just be like, you can't stay in here. I'm going on out the door. And I didn't understand why. And I'm just like, dang. But what did my dad do to y'all so much that y'all hate him, to where the siblings hate him? The mom won't even let him in the house. Everybody just had this attitude. Yeah. And it was always something. And they would take it out on me. So that's why I would get the beatings. I would get starved.
So it kind of makes sense. When out there, so it kind of makes sense that they couldn't do that to him, so they just take it out on you because it's an easier target.
That's what it was. So I would get the beatings and the starvings and
your dad.
certain things like that. They would get into argument with him or get angry and like, oh, you look everything like him, every bit of him, and I can't stand him, and oh, you no good, you're gonna be just like him, and I just was like, y'all hate him. Like, what did he do so bad? Like, for my knowledge, he had just got out of jail for some drugs. So I'm like, he ain't even been around this long. So why are you guys so angry? But now it's probably because this is not his first time.
Yeah, well, you don't think so? Nobody ever speak up in that time, though, right?
My sister, she's infatuated with him, and I don't understand why at all. And I asked her, I said, You're yelling at me. I have health conditions now. You're wishing basically worse conditions on me because I told on him. And I was like, I get that you're dad and I get that you love him, but right is right, wrong is wrong. Right. And I asked her, I said, did he touch you? She never gave me an answer. Okay, most people would have been like, no, or something like that. She never gave me an answer. And I have messages to prove, she never gave an answer.
And how many daughters does he have?
Just me and her. He has more boys than anything.
Have he ever been around the boys more than you guys, or just you guys? Or mainly you?
Like it was mainly me. Their mother had custody of them, so she was taking care of them. But like they would come over and stay like a weekend, or go stay a weekend with your dad and your stepsisters. Because it was me and the stepkids at the time. So he would go get my older sister, and she'll come stay with us at the house. And she, I just thought that he was overall good. The way she loved him, I thought that he was just. Because of God to her.
Wow.
And when I asked her, I was like, did he touch you too? I was like, something's wrong. And she just never gave me an answer.
She didn't know what to say. When you told your mom, did your mom suspect you of that type of person he was or not?
No.
So she never admitted that side of him?
No, but she was one of the very few that when I told what happened, she wasn't like, oh, you're lying. Or she wasn't like, oh, you're making this up or nothing. It's like my mom automatically knew. She was like, I know it's something. My mom called it out verbatim, and she was like, somebody's touching my child. And she was like, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to find out. And she just kept telling me, Jada, you're going to tell me. And I was like, Mom, at this moment, I just can't. So my mom was always a firm believer that it was something going on.
Mm-hmm.
But like my grandma and my stepmom at the time was just like, no, I don't think my son would do something like that. Or, no, I never got the vibe that he was that type of person. And so, I had a lot of people, she's lying, her story isn't real.
Oh, so you got people telling you all that stuff did not happen for him?
Yeah, and I'm like, if that's the case, then the 15 years that he did the complete 15 years. He didn't do 3-4 years and then he got out because they found out that it was a Jew. No, he did them years consecutively. He's on tape admitting it because they're
yeah, even the affidavit, he admitted doing it, the affidavit.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know, but some people, it's hard to believe a person that you've known probably all your life will turn out to do that to their own child. So I never kind of blamed them for saying, oh, I didn't believe he did that, because that's something you don't want to believe anybody.
Right, I mean, that's your dad, right? So it's kind of like it's hard to believe. It's not even like it's hard to believe that as your dad would do something like that to his own daughter.
Yeah.
That is like crazy. What would you tell somebody who's going to a similar situation?
Honestly, I think about it a lot. I really felt like I had fear of going into the system at the time and not getting justice and no one believing me and, me mixed up in the system. I thought that I was going to be placed because with foster care at that time, kids was going missing, kids was coming up deceased. And fear is your worst enemy. It is. I felt like if I was strong enough and I wasn't scared, I felt like I could have stopped this before it got to the extent that it did. But being a kid at that age, being so young, my fear took over. It was an instinct of, okay, this ain't gonna happen forever. You just gotta deal with it. It's either life or death to me at the situation. Until it got to the point to where I started wanting to take my own life.
Right.
And at that point, I would tell anybody, speak. Even if you can't find the words to say, write it down, hand it to somebody. You see something, say something. If you feel like something when you were taken advantage of, if you feel like something is going to happen or leading up to the situation, if you see the red flags, act on it. Take your instinct, trust your gut. Because if I could have stopped that from that first moment after that wrestling and the play housing started, I feel like my life would have been a lot different. Like, being taken advantage of at that age has affected me even as an adult.
Right, that is a lot to take in.
I was a preschool teacher, but right now I'm in nursing school.
So you're going to school for nursing?
Yeah, I have a criminal justice background also, because after what happened to me, I wanted to be one of those detectives or advocates, like Law and Order, or just I took up child psychology in college also because I wanted to sit down and be there. I wanted to be the voice for the children who couldn't
So
speak.
you want to, okay.
My doctor started to tell me you trauma bond with children. So I don't know what it is. I started going to school and I was like, you know what? I want to help children. Because if somebody just would have just reached out and just, touched me and helped me, I felt like half of what I go through on a daily basis or go through on my mind would have, if I could have just stopped it instead of letting it go on for so long. But I also was told that I'm lucky because a lot of rape victims, even at their age, are being killed.
Yeah, no, yeah.
They're being killed. Yeah, I see a lot of people coming out now speaking and telling their stories, and
it goes like the opposite way. Where normally, because you was at that age, like at 13.
Yeah, I was pregnant at 13, lost my baby at 14, and from 14 to the age of 29 to this day, I am still going through that traumatic experience. I have night terrors where I wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, screaming, crying, just because I feel like I'm reliving that same situation over again. I've had to be changed on medications, stronger medications than others, because it's just not where I thought I would be.
Is there anything you want to tell the people about you before we go?
Just because you're a victim doesn't mean you can't get help.